Welcome to the Awakening Podacst. Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. I'm Collins, and this is the beautiful Jacqueline, and we're happy to join you again.
Good morning. Good morning. It's amazing how quickly the 7 days goes now, right? I feel like we were just doing this a moment ago.
Yeah, it is quick. The time is going quickly, especially in the spring. The days are long. Everyone's very active.
Feels good.
Yeah, how's the weather there?
It's 70 yesterday and I believe 72 today. So, with that new moon coming in and a new beginning, new year, new cycle, it feels very enlivening. So it's exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's warming up here, and I'm looking forward to being outside. I'm on a little bit of a cleanse. I recommend it. We're not medical professionals, but recommend doing a cleanse every year. See your hopefully your integrated doctor about that. That's really good practice to get into. I highly recommend it. We get addicted to certain things. I know you and I, we always talk about coffee.
Coffee is my my addiction.
It's always good to take a little break.
Yeah, and I don't drink it black. I drink it with French vanilla creamer and whipping cream on top. So I can really feel the effects of the sugar, and you can always tell an addiction when you come off of it and you go, oh man, I really miss that. I mean, you really grieve. I grieve over the death of my morning coffee ritual. So,
yeah, rituals like habits and programs. We've talked a lot about that here, and it's down to the most mundane things like drinking your coffee in the morning. So, wow,
yeah.
well, we have a really cool topic today. We're talking about the spiritual being, and as compared to the human being.
So, obviously, again and again and again, we say this podcast series is about the awakening. However, and I channel several ascended masters, and I was told the other day that it's not necessarily the awakening, it's the rising. And we have already risen. And so we should change the podcast to the awakened.
Awakened.
Nice. And that little paradigm shift is really sensational, which goes along with our spirit sensation versus human sensation topic today. That I'm not a human awakening, but I'm an awakened spirit. I'm an awakened being, meaning that I've arrived. And so I'm not looking for this bridge, which, I mean, we're still crossing. And even after we crossed, if you remember when, the Israelites crossed the Jordan, and there was still the giants in the promised land, and their first, action was tearing down the walls of Jericho. So, we have crossed over. However, this parallel timeline situation, we're still very much, and that's the multidimensionality beingness, is that we're no longer just a linear dimensional or 3D dimensional. There's actually a spiritual overlay onto this obtuse linear 3D dimensional reality. So we've got this spiritual dimensions overlaid, and the shifting is actually shifting into that multidimensional perceiving of reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're seeing two sides of reality. Is that kind of the simple way of saying it? That we see multiple angles on the same point of perception?
Yeah, it's the difference between my sitting here in a chair and looking at my surroundings and seeing, how far can I see in my radius, okay? Versus being on top of the mountain and having a vision of reality from that much broader, higher perspective. So you can see much farther out, and therefore, and when there really is nothing to fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I'm sitting here and I look outside and the ambulances are coming and the police are coming and you see the people outside that are frantic and running around and you get sucked into that very limited perception that, oh my God, what's going on? Is the world crashing? Is my reality, my bank account being stolen, or my kids are not going to make it home, or what is my partner doing and where is he, and am I going to make it out of this fire? Versus standing on the mountaintop and seeing that that's just really a nothingness. Somebody accidentally tripped the fire alarm, and there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing there. There's no reality there. So I don't care what the doctor said. I don't care. I don't care what the media said. I don't care what the report is, because my report comes from a different reality. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my report. Yeah, exactly. So the external is there to distract you, which is almost for all of us, it's pretty, if you're a human incarnated, it's pretty impossible not to be distracted occasionally.
Well, what I want to make very clear, though, is that is the old paradigm. That's the old world system. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for thousands and thousands of years for that day to arrive when that old system of programs, triggers, and dark world created reality, the matrix of low energy and that whole fear dominated social structure, linear 3D structure. We've waited for the day to come when that's over.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a really hard message. And we still want to believe, we still get triggered, we still get like, oh my God, can it be real? And is it really here? Am I really worthy?
Mm-hmm.
Is there really a new operational system? Have we really entered into the upgrade? Is the reset from the human reality into the spirit reality, did that really take place? Did I get the download? Okay. Did the download really happen? Well, how do you know that it happens? Is the question.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably what a lot of people are asking themselves. How do I know it happened?
How do I know?
Uh, I guess that you can see the two realities. Is that you can see the spirit as well as the human?
And so if we talk about seeing, what is the difference between seeing in the human sensation versus seeing in the spirit world sensation? What is the difference between hearing from the human side to see the upgrade is we've upgraded into spirit. We've upgraded into a high vibration. We upgraded into a higher octave. We upgraded into the matrix of love, which are the vibrations of joy, peace. I don't need to fear where my supply comes from because I understand. Not only do I understand it, but I perceive it as the truth that there is a universal law, a law, a law, a universal law that supersedes human created laws, which operate on slave, victim, perpetrator reality. But I understand, not only do I understand it, but I'm beginning to experience these truths, which have vibrations behind them, enter into my heart chakra and my brain, and I'm experiencing the glimpse of this truth. So again, let's go back to the human sensation, is that I see reality through my rods and cones of my physical eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see the report on CNN that says, the world is crashing, bombs bursting in air, riots, financial systems are collapsing, unemployment is higher than ever before, resources now are limited, so wars over resources, viruses and pandemics now are on a global structure. And so I am really in fear of this, the seeing through my physical eyes, because I see it.
Mm-hmm.
How can I deny what my physical eyes see? How can I deny what the doctor's report shows me? The paper is there. The equipment did the analyses. The results are, he went to med school. He's the one in the know. The results are on the paper. So my eyes see a reality. I hear the people crying. I hear the words that describe the scenes of reality. The journalist is out there, reporting on site. And these are, how can I deny that reality? This is the shift. And it's a serious choice. Are you consenting and attaching to the old world program, or have you entered into the day that allows you to cross the bridge and be a citizen of a much larger program of reality? Now we shift from the eyes of the rods and cones, the ear canal of hearing. We shift over into an entirely new way of perceiving reality. And yes, it's difficult. However, if you give your consent to it and you choose, you will begin to see an assistance and a support. You begin experiencing this, wow, reality really is from my heart chakra, and that I control that. I am the author of, I am a co-creator. I create reality. I am not a victim and a slave to a reality already created. I have the power, I have the authority to take dominion and subdue my mind and my heart and give consent to this new world. So
yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, and it's really the shift in perception, and hopefully based on your heart where your heart takes you. I mean, I think,
not where your heart takes you, but where you take your heart. In other words, my heart can take me into fear.
Right.
Because I'm choosing to align with that sensation. Or as master and co-creator, I control my feelings and I take my heart here.
Right, because the heart can be basically taken over and enslaved or bound within the human body or bound within the human mental confines.
And that is this is the perfect analogy between and this is kind of where the whole conversation of the new world is going to reside, is the human perspective, which is what you just said. In that reality, the heart is enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
The heart is held captive. It is imprisoned in a jail cell, a limited reality cell that the human has no control over, or the human believes they have no control over.
Well, great. Well, that's our break. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Awakening Podcast. In a minute. Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. Welcome back to the Awakened Podcast.
We are the awakened.
That's right. This is really interesting about the heart being basically held captive by the human, but it's a choice, and maybe it's a choice. Is it a choice that we're making minute to minute, or is it a slow process of unwinding kind of mental programs and blocks and things like that?
Well, the awakening is something that we're working towards. And yes, in the awakening, it is that first realization that there's another whole matrix of reality. I'm not what my external identity is, but I am my divine identity. I'm my soul identity. I am the identity that my creator imaged me to be. And then that image was created into a physical form, a vessel that was originally meant to house the spiritual creator, the God in that vessel. And so the awakening is a process of, like you said, unfolding, getting rid of the blockages, identifying programs, and clearing the programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there comes the time where, how much more clearing can I do? Some of us I've been clearing my whole life, okay? And then there just comes that place where you go, I'm clear, right? That's the awakened. That's, okay, I went back to my childhood and my father was this and my mother did this and then her parents did that, and I have a lineage of this, and even if I look into past lives and I recognize what karma is, and I'm now living all this karma and I'm trying to get rid of my karma. So the awakened is karma's gone. The awakened is no more suffering. The awakened is I am master. I am worthy. My value is as valuable as the Creator is, because I am the image. I am the likeness. And therefore, all things my Creator is, I am. And so the awakened is this more holistic view now of that which is dominant, that which is the greatest, that which is the absolute. I see you. What?
Oh, I'm just shifting. I just tweaked my
No,
neck.
I thought maybe you had something to inject, but I know that
No, no, no.
you always will. And so, so do you see the little shift from, awakening to awakened? Okay, I realize I am awakened now. Now what? Okay, now I begin, and yes, it is still a moment by moment. I'm still, but my moments, instead of my blackouts being days, my my forgetfulness is shorter and shorter
Yeah,
and shorter.
great point. Yeah, I think that's something to give ourselves credit for. If you've been on this path for a while, I think that those times when you lapsed into old habits or patterns, sometimes you get stuck in those cycles for, gosh, I don't know, it could be a year or two. And now we're
Loops.
loops, right? Now we're able to cycle out of those much quicker.
The drama loops we've been doing for centuries upon centuries upon centuries, because there was nothing, there was no wheel, there was no place to get off the merry-go-round and access. Now I know some people might disagree with my articulation of this concept. Yes, Elijah, Enoch, Jesus, Moses. Yes, there were many few that were able to get off the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call it the karma wheel. Okay. Um, Jonathan Livingston Seagull did, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Um, but back then, in the old world, in the ancients parables of that time that would come, and a new world, heaven would be dropped to earth, at that time, which is now, there is a place, a position, a world, which when we get off the merry-go-round, get off the wheel of karma, we're here. I mean, we made it. It's. Does that make sense? And so all of those years and years and years of clearing and getting caught back into the drama loop, we don't have to do that anymore. We keep talking about 0 point. The minute you perceive the new world reality is the moment that the old world collapses, is no longer, and you are collapsed into the new.
So when we have those moments of clarity or intuition or creativity, we need to keep going back to those moments to re-anchor ourselves into that new reality.
Yes, in those moments, if we will learn to lean into them as consciously as possible, like like when you get that flash, go, oh my God, this is it. Try to create a space that says, here I am. Here it is. Here's the position. Here's the place. Now, you may not stay there, But here's the next shift. The next shift is that space within never leaves you now.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never go back. You can never go back. Once the anchoring, the connection happens, even when you leave it in human consciousness, know the spirit consciousness, which is you, has not left.
Mm-hmm.
And now it has set up residence within you. It's no longer off world. It's no longer up there. It's no longer in your soul, which is beyond the veil. It's no longer a place that we're trying to get to. The veil has been taken down. And that place that you connected to, that you hooked into, that you attached to, is taking up residence. And it's going to expand and expand and expand. So every time you go there and experience it, you add to the space, the clearing, until there's enough clearing that it's just it's just so easy to be there. Now, the multidimensional beingness is that you are still working your job. You're still driving here and there. You're still having holidays. You're still cooking dinners and having sex with your partner and getting blah, 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 blah. You're still doing these daily activities, but there's an overlay of this new energy, and you begin rising into the joy of everything you're doing. And so that joy that may not have like this consciousness that says, oh, I'm in joy and therefore I'm in a higher world, but that vibration of joy, which comes because you've connected already to this new world matrix of reality, this new vibration of reality. And that vibration of joy, peace, love, and harmony starts permeating everything that you do. You may not be just totally going, oh, I'm joyful because it's just part of the wholeness. It's just part of the beingness. And now you are just being the new energy in the new world, even though the old timeline is still being seen and heard by your physical eyes and ears. I know this is a lot.
Yeah, it's being in it's being in two worlds and being okay with it. And that's challenging, I think, for a lot of people to comprehend, because people want to be one place or another place. Being two places at once, it does say a lot about how we're multidimensional. And I think that's the big thing that people could, come to some realization about. I mean, that the physicality is just another, it's a point of perception that we're in, or it's a we're in a, I think, we've talked about this a lot. We're in a matrix. We're here to do certain things in this matrix, but we have these other points of perception we can go to. So we're not limited, as people have been told, to the kind of the nuts and the bolts of running around and doing things. I mean, but then again, if we're not all able to sit up on the mountaintop, right?
We are all able to.
Oh, in their minds. Yeah.
It's the choice. It's are you seeing from the spirit or are you seeing from the human? And so, how many times are you in a place of reality and it's really not feeling good? I don't really like being here. And your mind is really somewhere else, wishing you were somewhere else. Correct?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, who wants to drive and get gas? Who wants to do these little mundane errands that we have to do to to pay rent or whatever, or to keep a job.
So what you just said is the human is already doing two realities. I'm here doing this, but I really don't want to be doing this. Right? That's multidimensional thinking. Daydreaming is multidimensional thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Although spiritual beingness is very far from daydreaming. Daydreaming doesn't connect to the matrix, the absolute dominance of a higher realm of reality, which is more real. It is the prime reality. It is the reality from whence all of this reality came from. Can you see that?
Right. We're a projection of that reality, not the other way around.
Okay, let's start there. Say that again.
Well,
Say, I am.
I am.
What are you? You just said it.
Well, I said something about I'm a projection of the higher reality, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am the image, the projection of, the expression of this creator, this source of creation, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Now, that's a major shift right there. That's a major shift. If people could get just that shift, and you said it with confidence and conviction. So do you believe that?
Yes. I think I have proof in my life for it.
Okay, so there is a knowingness that you just experienced, right?
Right.
And you brought it out. You stated it as a matter of fact. It's not just something I hope for. It's something that I have come to know, that I am only the image of my creator. So, if I am the image and the likeness of my creator, then let's take the next step. Then I am all of what my creator is, because my creator imaged me, formed me out of his one self. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if I am that, then I am capable of, I have the power, I have the resources, I have the supply, I have all that I need to not only access, but to co-create. Can you agree with that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I think, and that's really where I think that's the era that we're moving into, where that co-creation or creational power is coming online.
There you go. There you go. That awareness. Oh my God.
Oh gosh. Oh, thanks for joining us. This is really cool. Of course, as we're right in the midst of saying something really important. We'll be right back.
Hang on to that.
Last segment. This is the Awakening Podcast. Thank you. Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. Welcome back. This is our last section. Jacqueline, really important point you were diving into there. Let's get right back into it.
Okay, so you said that we are coming into that co-creative awareness, right? And that we're not only coming into it, but that awareness has been anchored into the energy grid of the planet, and it is the world, it is the reality available now to actualize that creative power like never before. Ever in the history of humanity have we been here now. This is why it is so exciting. I mean, if humans could really get this reality, you say it, okay? We've talked about it for centuries. The ancients spoke of it in their transmissions, their messages. Jesus talked about it in parables, that the day would come, that, and it's just what you said, it's coming. It's not coming. Scripture tells us that the dawn will rise. The dawn will, as the dawn comes into, comes upon the morning, right? As the dawn brings morning to the day. Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that again. As the dawn brings morning.
Morning, right.
To the day, or to the 24 hours. In other words, there's got to be a dawning for
right.
there to,
for
the day to come. We were in the night, but now the sun has positioned in a way that it is dawning upon the horizon and bringing light, which is creating a brand new day. That's the parable. That's the analogy. That's the example that is spoken of to tell you that same experience, when you experience the sun rising on the horizon, there's going to come that day where the dawning of the light will come upon the horizon of your heart and your mind, and that light will reveal what was in darkness and you could not see because the photonic particles, the volume of light was not increased to such a degree that the light within your own mind, your perception of what is inside the light is not just there is something inside the light. And when the light dawns upon the horizon of the mind and the heart, we begin seeing not just that it's going to come, but we see that it has come. I see it as having come, and I'm here to tell you it is here. I'm giving you a reality that I have experienced in the seeing, and in that coming, as it is here now. What I'm saying is there is a power upon us. There's a power upon us. And when the human begins to not just believe that it's coming, not just hope for that day. I hear everybody say,
hope.
I hope this happens. Right. I hope that it, oh my gosh.
External hope, right? We've talked about that.
Yes. We're looking for that external savior. What did Jesus say? If they tell you it's out there or over there, he said, don't listen to them. It's not out there. It's not over there. I'm telling you, the Savior rises within me within my mind, and I realize I am the master. My Father and I are one. All things that belong to him. He owns the gold and the silver. I'm telling you, that belongs to me, and it's not a gold, a physical gold and a silver gold. It is that gold which is unseen, which is the creative power that creates the things seen. If we operate on the fact that I've got to have physical gold to create my palace and acquire my yacht, then you will never become a true master. My gold, my silver, my ownership of all that resides in the matrix of all of creation, which is a universal time and space, does not come from physical gold and silver. Comes from consciousness. Mind
precedes the physicality.
Correct. When you make that shift. Now, it's not only that we're making the shift in mind and heart, but I'm here to tell you that the energy grid on the planet is now in whole, WHOLE, 100% online. The upgrade happened. All the computers are plugged into source energy, which is the energy of 1,000 suns. I'm just going to say that because it's more infinite than that. But if you can imagine the energy of 1,000 suns, and I don't mean the physical energy of the 1,000 suns, because the sun, the physical ball that we see in the sky that dawns upon the horizon so we can see the day, is merely the form of what's behind it.
Right. That's so fascinating, the sun concept, and we could have a whole a whole talk about that. There's a concept of the second sun, or the sun that's a few sun lengths away from the sun, that's maybe behind the firmament, that can be seen if you have the right optical equipment. So it's really fascinating subject. That the reality that we're in, we've been told it's a certain way, but maybe it's not. And I think there's a lot of discoveries that are going to happen that are going to be quite shocking to most people.
Well, discoveries, exactly. That's the new technologies that we're talking about. When the mind is free from limitation, when it's free from the obstacles that the dark world rulers have placed over our minds through programming, getting you to believe that those things that are causing you to fear are the dominant reality. When you can break out of that, and we talk about jumping that chasm of faith, okay? I'm telling you, it's just time. There is another side that will support you when you jump. And that's the key, is that the human mind and heart have developed enough by listening to scripture, going to church, reading the scripture, believing that Jesus, what he said was true, believing that he's not a liar, that he came to tell us a truth, that though we couldn't see it 2,000 years ago up until today, that in the studying and in the development of our intellect, that there would come a time that we would shift from intellect as the foundation of being able to make that jump over into a spirit being. The intellect will bring us to the knowledge, and then we're gonna jump over with that knowing into a new world. And that is that the old timeline, old system, old programs, they're nothing. Jesus said that I came and conquered that. That even death, do you realize that this new world is going to bring us into our new bodies? We don't have to age.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think whole new habits and bodies and all kinds of fascinating discoveries are going to be made or are in the process of being made.
They are in the process already. Things that are going to bring in the abundance, the prosperity, the heaven on earth, no more tears, no more suffering. I mean, that's where we're going. Now, the complication is that there's still two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see those that decided to stay in the old world. That storyline is going to continue. So don't get deceived into thinking that because that storyline is still going on, that this new storyline hasn't taken place. That's the difficulty that we will have right now. Is that there are two timelines and they are parallel. And right now, the timeline between the two is running kind of parallel also, although if you pay attention, my timeline, the New World timeline, does run much faster. In other words, manifestation is happening faster and faster. The connection to the mind and the heart, to the spirit reality, is happening much quicker.
Right. It's an upgraded biology, I think, in some ways.
Not some ways. It is the upgrade of the biology. The mind is anchoring into, well, that's just not true. This is what's true.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things that I learned in religion that were true about God, I am now embodying that. You know, we say perfect love casts out all fear. Oh, great. And then they tell me that the pandemic is going to kill 70% of the population. And I go over here and I am in fear, tremendous fear. I mean, gut wrenching fear. And I'm putting on my mask, sometimes two masks. And I'm like, oh my God, don't touch that. And don't sit here. And don't, come on, guys. Come on. So, which one are you operating in? And so that timeline, that storyline, that drama loop, that wheel of karma is not going to stop. Now, the angle of separation is very, we don't see it drastically right now, but soon we will. In fact, the more you operate on the truth, in the truth is love is dominant. That's just the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is that joy, the vibration of joy, is a dominant vibration. That's just true. The vibrations of shame are the lowest vibration on the scale in the map of consciousness vibration. It is the next vibration up from death, is shame.
Right. Like all those vibrations like shame and apathy and fear and all that stuff is really very, very low.
Causes tremendous depression. When you believe that is the dominant reality, that's going to zap your energy because shame has a very, very low energy. So the healing that we're doing, that's the awakening. The awakening is the healing out of the shame, out of the guilt, out of the abandonment, out of the rejection, out of all of those very low vibrations which have no energy. Why you need to drink to get energy, why you need to have sex and orgasms to get energy, why you need drama. Drama gives energy. Hate, there's an energy behind violence and hate. And when you are so low in shame and guilt, in abandonment, rejection, low self-esteem, and if you were to just sit there in that, although apathy does sit in that, lethargy does sit in that, but the next step from that is to not sit in it. And the opposite side of that is to engage in the battle, because the battle will give you an energy, and then you think you've got a purpose, right, because you're battling against something that's causing you to be shameful and guilty and rejected. Okay?
Right. That stimulus we're all seeking from our surroundings. It's really very captivating.
And I'm saying in such a beautiful way. Oh my gosh.
Oh wow. Well, this was an exciting one. Thanks, guys. The Awakening Podcast. This has been Jacqueline and Collins, and as usual, we'll leave you on the edge of your seat because we'll be back next week to jump right into the next thing.
I love you, and please come over. It's a beautiful place to be.
Thank you. Yes. Welcome to the Awakening Podcast.